Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Tuesday, April the 16th, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting for the Colleton County School District to order. I'd like to welcome everyone here. Appreciate seeing everyone, as well as those that are tuning in to the live stream. At this time, I ask everyone to please stand for the pledge, followed by the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. To Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to bow before you tonight with all the many blessings that you bestow upon us. Father, we ask you to guide our students and staff as they prepare for spring testing next month. Father, we know that all of our blessings come from you, and we look to you for guidance and wisdom for our school district. Father, we pray now together as you taught your disciples to pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, but forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Thank you.
Just a few housekeeping items. Joining us via Zoom is our superintendent, Ms. Jessica Williams. Ms. Williams, can you hear us? We're going to work on that so that Ms. Williams can confirm her attendance with us. And y'all just let me know when you have her present. Also, as a matter of note, we have 5 board members present. Ms. Simmons, Mr. Irwin, Ms. Strobel, myself, and Mr. Stivender. Did I hear Ms. Williams? Yes. Ms. Williams, you can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, great.
I couldn't hear you before, but I'm hearing you now.
I thank you. Joining us this evening as greeters for our meeting is the Bells Elementary Beta Club, and the club is led by teacher Ms. Pye, and we'd like to ask you to step forward as you demonstrate our mission statement.
Colleton County School District will prepare every student to graduate with the 21st century education to be globally competitive for their chosen college and/or career path.
We thank you very much. Can you please share with us your name?
My name is Joshua Fingroskopf.
Go ahead.
My name is Noah Pye.
My name is Ivan Bostic.
We thank you very much for being with us today, as well as representing the Bells Elementary Beta Club. Thank you so very much. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your organization?
I'm going to let Ivan do it. He's our president.
Terrific.
Bells Beta Club. Mission statement: National Beta Club will promote the ideals of achievement, character, service, and leadership among elementary and secondary schools for students. Motto: let us lead by serving others. This is our second year having a club. We have 9 returning 5th grade Beta Club students, and we inducted 13 new fourth grade members to our club on November 9th. Students have to maintain academic, behavior, and service hours requirements. Projects for this year: we help for the Fall Festival at Bells, help with weekly Backpack Buddies distribution, work at the Low Country Food Bank food drive at Bells, organize a Fill Our Blessings Box food drive to stock the blessings box at Bells, keep Colleton beautiful, recycle crayons projects, field day at Bells. Projects for next year: shoe drive fundraiser, back to school raffle. We really want to raise enough money to be able to attend and maybe even compete the National Junior Beta Convention next year. Thank you for having us tonight.
You're very welcome. Thank you. We wish you all the best, and thank you all again for being here. Board members, if you will, please join me in the civility pledge. It's before you. I pledge to build a stronger and more effective school board by advocating for the civil engagement, respecting others and their viewpoints, and finding solutions for the betterment of my school district. Board members, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the agenda.
Madam Chair, I make a motion we approve the agenda as presented for April the 16th, 2024.
Is there a second? Second. Motion made and seconded to approve the agenda as presented, April 16th, 2024. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Is there any public input this evening? There is no old business, and the first item of new business is the South Carolina School Board Association Day at the Capitol. This is a legislative day for school board members to attend in Columbia to be able to speak to legislators about any type of legislation that they are considering and how it affects the public school system. Ms. Strobel and I attended. Ms. Strobel, do you have any remarks on the day that you'd like to share?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to represent the school district and the community again this year. It's always a day that I enjoy. We get to go up and see our House and Senate in action, and it's a wonderful opportunity to see the work that they do. And particularly that day, it was they were doing the work of budget and working on the salary increase for teachers that the governor is proposing. So we heard good news about the House voting for a very good budget to support our local schools. And we met with Colleton delegates, both the House and the Senate, to encourage, that our local schools need that money from the state level to help us fully fund the increase for teachers. So it's a wonderful opportunity to partner, and just want to thank our delegation that aren't always here, but they do watch our meetings, local delegates as well as our state delegates. And, it's a selfless job that they do to help get the money we need for our schools and our communities, and it's a partnership. So thanks to our local delegates that were able to attend our strategic plan last week. I know they have busy schedules, but 3 of them were at our strategic plan and stayed the entire 2 hours and dialogued with different ones of you, and we want to thank them for the time they take to help us locally with making our schools and our community the best it can be.
Thank you, Ms. Strobel. If I may just add that, our district receives funding 3 different major sources, and that's federal, state, and local. And so this was one piece of the pie. By visiting with the state legislators, I want to recognize that the House did pass a budget that we felt we agreed with in most part. However, the Senate is considering something that is significantly less. So what does that mean, board members and community? If you can help us by advocating to our state senators, we do have various senators that represent Colleton County, so I encourage you to look on the Colleton County legislative page to find out who your specific state senator is, so that you can contact them and let them know they are $30 million short of what we need for our state. And that's significant, and we don't want to have to begin our budget process, our district budget process and approval, without that $30 million. Also want to make note too of how important it is for local dollars and federal dollars. All of these combine to the budget processes that you hear us working on, and we are in the middle of an election year. You are considering individuals for representation for you and our community, and in doing so we want to make sure that those individuals represent you as well as our district. And so whereas they may not be in public school, the decisions that they make will affect our public school system. So know who is representing you and know where they stand on public school. At this time, we'll move on to the superintendent's report. Ms. Jessica Williams.
Good evening. Greetings to our school board members and also to the public. I want to thank everyone for being here at our Committee of the Whole meeting this evening. And although I am not there with you in person, I want to thank my staff for enabling me to communicate with you virtually. So I want to make sure that everyone can hear me.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me clearly?
I can, thank you. Can those in the back hear? They're raising their hand, Ms. Williams. You're good to go.
All right, thank you. My report tonight will consist of an overview of our formative assessment data for the year, which will be presented by our assessment and accountability coordinator, Mrs. Tracy McDonald. We have made some good gains in student achievement, and we are very excited about this. She will present that. And then additionally, Mrs. Janice Hedden, our K-12 Teaching and Learning Director, will provide a brief overview of our strategic plan stakeholders meeting held last week, Tuesday, at Forest Hills Elementary School. And as Mrs. Strobel previously stated, we were very, very excited about the attendance from school and from community stakeholders at the meeting. Mrs. Hedden will also outline some of the updates that have been made to our plan based on the feedback that we received from that meeting. After Mrs. McDonald and Mrs. Hedden come forward with their presentations, I will then come back with information concerning 2 proposed local board approved courses. So at this time, I ask that Mrs. McDonald come forward with her presentation.
Sure. Ms. Williams, Ms. Hedden is going to start us off. And you're starting with the strategic plan? Or you're going to give our ready results?
No, ma'am. I'm going to start with the strategic plan.
Great. And that's where it's up on the board. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. I'm just going to give a brief overview of our recent district strategic planning meeting that was held last Tuesday, April the 9th at Forest Hills Elementary. We had approximately 60 participants, which included parents, teachers, administrators, district office staff, board members, Colleton County Council members, and concerned citizens. The meeting objective was aimed to outline performance goals, our strategies, and our action steps for improving our educational outcomes, and to garner input from our stakeholders on revisions and additions to the district strategic plan. Ms. Williams started out the evening by welcoming everyone to the planning session, and then the participants dispersed into different planning sessions. So the planning sessions were focused on district priorities, school climate, student achievement, teacher and administrator quality, and then Dr. Vanessa Reed gave a federal program ESSER 3 update. So each session had 1, 2, 3, or 4 presenters. They gave a synopsis of the district plan's goals, their strategies, their action steps, and then input was asked of the attendees, and they were able to give input either orally or through a written form. So once at the end of the meeting, we took all the input, we put it into a planning document, and we updated the district strategic plan based on the feedback. So you have been given a draft of the district strategic plan. It has some revisions and additions highlighted in yellow. And Ms. Williams will present to you at our next board meeting for your approval, the district strategic plan. So right now, this week, our schools are also busy revising their individual school plans. And as a reminder, all of our strategic plans, the district as well as the individual school plans, must be submitted to the state by April 30th. So it's a short turnaround window. I'd like to thank Mr. Guarino and his staff for hosting the event. It was very easy for everyone to make the transitions from one session to another. I'd like to thank the presenters and the scribes. They did a phenomenal job. Our district staff, our school board members, our county council members, our stakeholders, our employees, and our parents. You know, giving up 2 hours of your time, especially at this time of the year, is a big deal. And at all the sessions I attended, the input was great, and the input that we got also from the feedback forms was really good. So just wanted to let you know how all of that went forward. And I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Question, board members?
Just want to echo thank you. I thought it was very well organized, and comments that I received from other folks that were there, that they got a chance to participate in conversations. They got a lot of useful information because it was, you know, like a 20-minute session, and we flipped to a new section. So it made it flow really, really nice, and it was set up, you know, to flow really, really nice. So thanks all of you that coordinated it, and I know the data you got back was interesting to review.
Also, we had a electronic survey that we gave a QR code for. It is still open. If anybody attended the session and they would still like to give feedback, they can.
Can the feedback that it was presented be shared with the board at the next Tuesday's meeting?
I would assume so, yes, ma'am, as long as it's cleared through Ms. Williams.
I just think that that would be helpful, as I know it's a 5-year strategic plan, and we both review the previous information, but also change and alter to better suit the future desires of the district as needed. So trying to see and better understand what it is we're shifting and changing, it would be helpful.
Yes, ma'am. All right. If there's no more questions. Okay,
Thank you, Ms.
Go
Evans.
sit down. Ms. McDonald?
And thanks for the pictures that appeared on the website highlighting that night. It was a nice storyline.
Hi.
Hi, Ms. McDonald.
Good evening, members of the board, community members, and Colleton County stakeholders. I'd like to provide you tonight some information on our formative assessment that we recently gave right before spring break, and to take a look at how our students are progressing over this school year. So as a reminder, we don't just haphazardly choose a vendor. We have an approved list of formative assessments that we choose from, and iReady is on that list. Students are required to participate in this assessment 3 times a year, and so that also includes students in grades kindergarten through 8th grade. So let's move forward and take a look at what our data tells us. Additionally, right before I start getting into the data, there's 2 ways to look at data. First is achievement. So if your child is in a 4th grade class, is he performing at a 4th grade level? And then another way to look at data is with growth. So taking where your student started at, no matter what grade level he or she is in, and looking at the growth over the school year. And so there is 2 types of growth. There is typical growth, and then there's stretch growth. Typical growth entails growth of a student. They should grow a year's worth of growth in 1 school year. And then you have stretch growth, which means that they are narrowing a gap are there either accelerating faster than what they should, which is great, but that is called stretch growth. So there's 2 ways to look at growth and then for achievement. So moving forward, you will see our relative placement data. Relative placement looks at if they are on mid-grade level, early grade level, 1 year behind, which is found in the yellow, and then the light pink is 2 years below, and the red is 3 or more grade levels below. So just visually, you can see that the greens have increased and the reds have gotten smaller, which is a great thing to see. But you can also see that in the greens that we have increased from fall to spring from 18% to 39%, which is an increase of 21% of our students. And then you can see that we have reduced the yellow, and when you look at the reds, that has been reduced by 13%, and if I'm doing my math right here on the spot, that is from 45% to 32%. So that is a good size reduction there. Is there still work to do? By all means, but that is great progress to see in 1 year. So if we move forward to math, our math starting point was lower, but that growth that you see over time is still there. Was the growth maybe as large? Well, our kids have much further to go in math, just as in many districts, but we had 7% at the beginning of the year, mid or early grade level, and it moved to 27%, which is an increase of 20%. And then if you look at the reds, you have from 49% in the fall to down to 32%, which is a reduction of 17% of our students falling 2 or more grade levels below. So I'm going to move forward now to a slide that we could all, because it is that season. SE Ready also does some projected proficiency reports. So how are our students projected to score on SE Ready with this data? So you can take a look at this slide and see where they were in the fall, where they were in the winter, and where they were in the spring. So as a district, we started off the year with a projection of 24% of our students projected to score meeting and exceeding. And you can see that in the spring, our projected proficiency moved to 37%. So I wanted you to have kind of an idea of what that looked like last spring for SE Ready. And as a district, we had 31.75% of our students scoring meeting or exceeding. I would like to also say that when we looked at last year's spring projected proficiency, when we got our SE Ready data back, preliminary data back, which only scores the reading, which is what SE Ready does. It only scores the reading. When they added the writing piece to it, we increased our percentages. The percent of our students that were projected to score meeting or exceeding was very closely aligned. So if you look at the 37% for iReady, if our students maintain that rate, that does not include the writing. So there's a chance that, we're going to get points for writing. That would be the lowest, so our projected proficiency would be higher there. But I have given you this data by school, and you can see where we are falling. I would like to highlight that we have our middle school at 37%. We have our Cottageville at 38%, and we have Forest Hills at 43% projected proficiency. So if we want to move to mathematics for just a minute, I know that this is We were all sitting on pins and needles because we were really wanting to make sure that this was increasing. So if you look at where we were as a district in the fall, we were at 6% of our students. But then if you look at where we were after the spring diagnostic, you will see we were at 21%. If you look at the winter, you can see that we've made steady progress from fall to winter to spring. So that moved from 6 to 14 to 21. I would also like to note that when we gave the spring already, that was before spring break. That was the last part of our mid to late part of March. So we have had a month of instruction since then. We have still been working very hard, making sure that we are fine-tuning and reviewing and providing opportunities for test-like questions through the use of Standards Mastery and other test prep materials that schools may have. So we're doing everything possible to make sure that our students are closing any additional gaps that they may have. You can also look, I would like to highlight Cottageville and Forest Hills again, and Northside for their projected math proficiency. You will see that those are at 34%, and that is a growth from last year. I've given you their SE Ready scores in the first column, so you can kind of see where they were last year and where they are this year. I'm going to pause right there for a moment, and if you have questions, I'll take questions before I move to the growth piece.
Any questions from Ms. McDonald? Thank you.
Okay, so I'll move to the growth piece. As a reminder, this really just details if the student, no matter where he was, no matter what grade level he or she was in, did he reach his typical growth target? And so you can see across the top in reading, again, I'd like to highlight we had 5 grade levels with 50% or more from 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th to have more than 50%. I look at this trend, and sometimes I get questions that I kind of want to think about a little bit more, but typically when you look at student achievement and student data, as students get older, the trend goes like this. But when you look at this data, with the exception of kindergarten, the trend is going up. And so that has kind of piqued my interest to kind of do some looking and seeing if other districts are having that same trend, or is that something special to our district? Because middle schoolers are hard to, we all have had a middle schooler before, and sometimes they're much harder to move than our younger students. And then if you look at the percentage for stretch growth, you can see where we are. We're about a third of our students have met their stretch growth, between a fourth and a third. If we look at our math targets, again, the 5th through the 8th grade have 50% or more, and then kindergarten also has 50% or more. And then you can look to see the percent who've met their stretch targets. I would like to highlight that, or just something to remind you or to think about, just because the goal is that we would love for them to meet their stretch target. In the growth model for our report cards, those students who meet their typical growth, we earn points for, but for those students who have surpassed their typical growth and may not have reached their stretch growth, as long as they've made progress toward meeting their stretch growth, we've earned bonus points for. So we are encouraging our students to do the very best they can on these assessments. And that concludes my report for the achievement and growth of our students. As I said earlier, we are working very hard to close any gaps. I have used the achievement data to do some predictive calculations to what our achievement ratings would be. And I can happily report that every school, based on my internal predictions, have increased their points earned. Now, that does not mean that they are going to get where we want them to be, because the students haven't taken the test. That's just already. The big day is yet to come. But I do want you to know that based on that, we are making progress. And we have to look at growth, and that is a little harder to calculate and make a prediction.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. When will we see that testing calendar so we can pray our specific prayers for those days that are coming up in May?
I did send Ms. Fox some flyers and parent letters and lots of different information to put on the webpage and on school web pages and social media, so that's going to be flooded. But that should be up probably tomorrow. I know some schools have gotten it out today, but it will be out tomorrow. I know that the assessment calendar's been out there, but I really wanted to make it up. There was no doubt when our testing was. So that is being done tomorrow at the latest.
So the dates are?
So there is so the first and second, Mary Jo, make sure I don't say anything wrong here. The first and, I don't have my computer with me, but the first and second for grades 3 through 5 are ELA, and the 7th and 8th of May is math and science for grades 3 through 5. For middle school, the week of May 7th, 6th through 10th is grade 6, and the following week is grade 7 and 8.
And that's the week of the 13th,
Yes.
7th and 8th.
Yeah. Then EOCs, they begin the week of the 17th. Okay, the 7th is for seniors. And then the 9th and 10th is a writing test for English 2s. And then anyone enrolled in an EOC class begins the week of the 14th. It's hard to remember all of the different dates up here right off the top of my head, so I'm sorry. But I can promise you, the flyer that I've created is very colorful and very clear, and that will be posted tomorrow, and it is in English and Spanish. So our Spanish-speaking parents will have the same information.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing that visual, and parents can plan for doctor's excuses and good attendance.
I would also like to remind our parents, while I have this opportunity, that there's not to be any electronic devices per State Department guidelines. So please encourage your student that if they have an electronic device, that when their teacher asks for it to be turned off and turned into the bin, there's a plastic bin that they put a sticky note on, they turn it off, and they put it in the bin. So that we don't have any issues with electronic devices on day of testing. We'll be very supportive, and that includes earbuds, smartwatches, any Bluetooth device.
Good to know. Along those lines of what parents need to know, or just leave them at home, right? Don't even bring it. Can you speak to the survey and what that does with regards to parent participation and how that impacts our state report card scores?
So the parent survey does not count for points.
Okay.
The data is reported on the card, but it does not count for points. However, the student and teacher survey does count for points. There was a few things that the State Department felt like they needed to extend the window for the teacher and student survey, and that was extended till April the 26th. So we have one more week to make sure that we have met the threshold of having all of our teachers and students surveyed. But the parent one has closed, but the results are not available until much later in the summer or early fall.
Just a note about those testing dates. I know that there has been an added instruction since the last iReady. There's also been a lot of break.
Yes.
And as clearly as we know when prom is, or tomorrow's the kickball tournament, you know, like as parents, we all know about all those end of the year things that are going on, not just. More important are those dates. And so, as Ms. Stribble just mentioned, you know, doctor's appointments and those kind of things, just, you know, I feel like we really need to expect our parents to be partners with us in this preparation. And just a matter of note, I thought when you made, you demonstrated, or you were able to show how the increase in later grades was continuing to rise. That's not normally a trend. I'd like to think that it's the effort of our district we have fallen behind because of COVID, and the emphasis that our instructional team has played on that catch-up, I think is being demonstrated, I'd like to think is being demonstrated in that increase. So I'm very excited. I know that a lot of the goals are like 10 points for what our schools are trying to increase their scores to. So some of that is reflective in those iReady spring results. So thank you for sharing that information with us.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. Ms. Williams, would you like to speak to the local board-approved courses, or is there someone else that's going to address that?
Yes, I will, but before I do that, if you would, I just want to thank Mrs. McDonald and Mrs. Head for their reports, and I want to thank our teachers first and foremost for their diligence in preparing our students. Our data would not look as it is without our teachers preparing our students. And I also just want to thank our school and our district administrators, our students, our parents, because it takes a village. That, you know, everyone did very hard work this year, and you know, this is the culmination of the work of our turnaround plans that our principals have been presenting each month to you. So I just want to thank everybody for all of their hard work, and as was stated, parents will receive detailed information concerning testing, and that will go out tomorrow. The last part of my report includes information concerning the 2 proposed local board approved courses which you have. The first course is technical writing for 10th through 12th grade students, and you have a copy of that description, but I just wanted to give you some background information concerning the development of that course. The teachers of the English department expressed a desire to offer a business/technical writing elective course to prepare students for the various forms of writing they will be exposed to in the post-secondary settings, either academic writing or professional writing. And while English 1 through 4 does incorporate small components of technical writing, this course largely focuses on analytical written responses, and the elective will provide a more intensive opportunity for our students to explore the other modes of writing. The second course is the Multilingual Learners course, and just wanted to let you know that the principal of the high school, Mrs. Bodison, and Mrs. Hooker outlined this course to provide intensive support to a select portion of multilingual learners. The goal is to help those students improve their language acquisition so that they're able to meet the access testing goals. And I will ask for your approval of these 2 courses at the regular board meeting next week. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer those questions, but this ends my report.
Ms. Williams, can you please tell me the multilingual learners, the course audience is the multilingual learner or student, but what grade? Could they get multiple credits for that class and take it multiple times?
Can you repeat your question? It's a little choppy.
Okay.
I couldn't.
The multilingual learners course is offered to the audience at the very bottom is identified as the multilingual student, but it doesn't identify the grade level as the technical writing class does. It identifies the technical writing is identified for 10th through 12th grade students. So can the multilingual learner class be taken more than once? And what is the audience for that class?
There's not a grade level specified there because that course will be offered to students who need that course. It will be a high school elective, but it's not grade level specific. So it's based on the needs of the student.
So may the student take it more than once if necessary?
Did you say once?
May they take it more than once? You know, my student can take weightlifting more than once as an elective. Can they take this multilingual learner class multiple times as necessary?
Yes, they should be able to. I don't want to give you wrong information there, but the purpose of the course is to help them to do better on the access test. So if they don't do well, they should be able to take the course again. But you know, that all depends upon scheduling and those kinds of things. But the idea was to provide some extra support and intervention for those students so that they can do better with language acquisition and do better on the access test. So to answer your question, there's not a specific grade level. It's based on need. And yes, it could be 9th through 12th grade that takes this course.
Thank you for the clarification.
Ms. Williams, both of these sound like great ideas and things that the high school has brought to your attention. Will we have staff to take care of this, or will it be virtual?
Well, who has to take care of it?
Will we have staff to be able to teach these classes, or will it have to be virtual teachers?
Yes, the plan now is to use existing staff to take care of these courses. I know that, you know, it was approached that, you know, somebody will probably be coming to me with another proposal, but right now we are going to use existing staff for the courses.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions on the described new courses? Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have Human Resources, Ms. Hamilton.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just have a few updates for you guys. So our contract our contracts for administrative and certified staff will not be issued until next Wednesday, April 24th. And then classified agreements will go out on May 1st. Certified and administrative contracts will be due back May 10th, and classified agreements will be due back May 24th. We will be recognizing our retirees, Teachers of the Year, Support Employee of the Year at our regular board meeting in May. So just want to prepare you for that. I have provided you with some projected vacancies for this coming school year, so you can review those by certified or classified classification. I also included around about this time last year, just where we were with vacancies. We had 60 vacancies this time last year, and this year to date, or at the time of this report was done, we had 47 vacancies. So I will continue to keep you apprised of those and how we're filling those. Any questions?
Ms. Hamilton, the dates you just provided us are different from the dates on the PowerPoint presentation?
That it is.
What is the reason for that?
Per Ms. Williams.
Oh, okay,
Yep,
thank you.
yep.
And so we'll get a list next week of all of our certified
That's
employees. We accept that, and then those contracts go out the very
That's
next day.
correct.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for the
You're
clarification.
welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Hamilton. Finance, Ms. Barrett?
Good evening to the board, all the audience, and all the stakeholders. Just wanted to give an update. This is what's going on in Congress right now. The Senate Finance Committee met last week. And of course, the House gave us a ratio for our teacher salary of 11.23 ratio of student to teacher. Well, when the House Finance Committee met, they decreased that to now they reverted back to the original amount, which is 11.2, which would equate to about $654 decrease in our actual funding that the House gave us. So when we do our budget, we're going to have a $654 per teacher decrease on our budget based on the Senate Finance Committee. So that's something that, we're watching, and we hope that the Senate as a whole will not decrease it, but that was just a proposal of the Finance Committee. So that's one thing that we're watching too, to make sure. Of course, next week will be the first reading on the budget, and that will be based on the House version of the budget. And once we get that first reading, then we can see what's going on with the Senate. And the Senate will give us a version of their budget. And normally the Senate version, if you don't get anything else from the state, that is the version that we normally would use to formulate our budget for the next following year. Any questions about that? Okay.
I appreciate, I just wanted, if I can add, I appreciate that understanding the difference, that 654, I threw out 30 million, that was across the state.
Well, that's what's 30 million for the whole state.
And so breaking that down is very helpful.
But it's very substantial for us because we're
Yeah.
a smaller district, and that's going to still impact us very much too.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
as I'm encouraging advocation for our Senate
Right.
to give us the money that we need to run our districts, too, is this whole funding formula itself is challenging in that they keep talking about this 11 to 2, the students to staff.
Yes.
So they're funding us based on the staff that we need. However, they keep adding these provisos
Right.
with added things like you have to have so many state or federal mottos or things written. So they write that into a proviso. Do they give us the money for that?
No,
Yeah.
we have a lot of unfunded mandates that
Unfunded
come from the
mandates.
state that we have to take care of in our local general fund, because that's the only funding source that we have. So that does create a problem for us with our budget.
Sorry, just wanted to throw that out there as I'm encouraging people to call state senators. Unfunded mandates, Ms. Barrett, thank you.
Unfunded mandates.
Yes.
And of course, they're still going to give the teacher all the teachers, not all the teachers, but the eligible teachers, the $47,000 for a starting salary. That's still not going to change, but how the funding of that money is what's going to change. So either we have to pay more from our local general fund, or hopefully the Senate will come in and they will go ahead and fund us the way that the House is intended to fund us. Okay.
Thank you so much.
And looking at our monthly revenue comparison, when you're looking at our local revenue, we had a decrease in our local revenue of $311,461.15. And normally it just can be timing. It's March, this should be February, but March is the last time that we will be collecting our property taxes for our school district operation. Which will be next month, will be April, but it'll be for March, and then we won't get any more funding till probably about October. So from that time up to now, we won't be getting funding from for the local general fund from the property taxes, for house property taxes. The EIA funding, we had an increase of $107,927.92. Of course, with our federal funding, we only do our federal funding claim every 3 months, so we haven't claimed anything yet. The food service, we had an increase of $49,832.93, but we had a total decrease in our revenue for the month comparison of March of $153,700.30. But when you look at our expenses, we only had a minimal increases in our general fund expenses of $6,642.12. Our special revenue has decreased by $64,169.53. And the reason I think this is happening is because last year, the state rolled up money that was actually into our special revenue fund, and they rolled it up and they put it into the general fund. So that's why we had a little bit more decrease in the expenses. For the federal fund, of course, the federal fund has decreased by $429,732.51, and that is because we don't have the ESSER 2 anymore, so now we just have ESSER 3, so that's why our expenses has decreased. The food service, their expenses has also decreased by $35,469.83. So we had a total decrease in all expenses of $522,729.75. Any questions? Okay. And you have all the other reports. If you have any questions on any of those reports, you have the general fund revenue, your board report, the capital project reports, and the travel reports. If you have any questions, just please let me know. And okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett.
Curriculum and instruction, Ms. Hedden? Oh, Dr. Reed, please, I'm sorry, for the ESSER-funded projects update.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
You have a copy of the report, and I'm just going to take a few slides to kind of explain the information on the updated ESSER report, which shows the current balance as of April 10th and where some of the remaining balances lie in the various district priorities, as well as recent amendments submitted and approved for spending of the ESSER funds. So as of April 10th, we had $7,968,197.73 remaining in the ESSER account. We moved some of those monies to cover a mental health position that was originally in the ESSER 2 funds, and so we picked that up and moved that to ESSER 3. We submitted a purchase to use iReady. Mrs. McDonald was talking about some of the results that we have seen with using the iReady Principals Academy. So we sent forward a special request to the State Department to see if we can continue using that program on through the next academic year, so we can hopefully continue those kind of gains that we see with our students and their performance, particularly on the formative assessments. We also had to make an adjustment to the indirect cost amount on this program because we charged indirect to our capital projects that were on the budget when we really shouldn't have done that. So we ended up adding $94,409.53 to that line item. What you have in front of you is a copy of the CSI budget, which shows those highlighted areas. I don't know if they're yellowed out or just darkened out, but they shows where those amendments occurred for the mental health position, for the amounts that were added for indirect costs, and the $300,000 for the purchase of the iReady funds. Okay? The last slide, this slide always just puts our reminder, September 30th, 2024, and until that time, we're going to be monitoring the expenditures of these funds and making sure we get them out the door. That's where we are. I mean, we've received a couple of pieces of correspondence from the State Department to be sure, to be mindful of, you're less than 60% spent, not just us, but all of the school districts in the state, just to make sure we're on track with spending these funds. That last slide just kind of gives you a percentage of where the remaining amounts are, the total amounts, and the percentages they're on. So, any questions so far? because then I'll go into a little bit about the, can you go back to that slide, to where the maintenance and construction projects are? Any questions so far, though?
Dr. Reed, I am looking at the board finance report for ESSER for April of 2024 that was included in our board docs. And it says it's highlighted indirect costs, and that's $1.2 million. What you just said about the 94 or 97,000, is that part of that that's included in that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the rest of that money was already listed as indirect costs?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So the construction projects that you want to be apprised of, right now we're at about $2,650,260 for our cost for our construction projects. Most of what we've spent so far has been through using our architectural firm to look at and provide the schematic drawings and other kind of information for our construction projects, and purchase of HVAC units that have to be installed, as well as some other maintenance projects. But the $2.6 million you see there on your report is what is remaining that we have budgeted. As I'm sure Mrs. Fitch and Mr. Hamilton will tell you, they're going to give you the status of what we're looking at in terms of when we're going to be bidding those out, et cetera. But that's where we are as of April the 10th. Okay. What other questions do you have?
Dr. Reed, in your opinion, do you feel like we're on track to spend all of our ESSER money before September 30th?
We will spend this money. The key here is when we get to certain points, and I've been in conversations with the CFO about this, if we get to a certain point where we feel that we need to make an amendment so that we can spend the money on allowable expenditures, we can do that, just like we've been making amendments that you've seen here. We've been very, very good about spending our ESSER funds for ESSER 1 and ESSER 2. We're going to spend these. I feel very positive we will do that.
So with asking that question, I trust your opinion, and the reason I asked that question was because I want to state very clearly, if at any point in time you feel like we're going to run out of time and we're not going to get money spent, I would like you to let the superintendent know, to let us know, so that we can, because that would be devastating for us to give the state back 1 single cent of that money. So keep up with it. Thank you very much for what you're doing.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And by the way, they don't want the money back either. So
I don't want to give them any.
Yes. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. Pardon me, Ms. Fitch, would you like to, Mr. Hamilton, do you want to speak on the ESSER-funded projects at this time?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Just to give a brief update on the ESSER funds, the ESSER projects, the Nail and Barber is going very well. We're on schedule for the June 14th date. The robotics and transportation is out for bid right now on the street. The tentative bid date has been revised to May 7th based on the budget and where the bids come in at. The roofing at the high school, I expect those design. He's coming out tomorrow to do his final site visit to verify a couple of things there and here. So we projected to have that design by the first of next week, and then we can go out to bid on the high school, because the high school doesn't require OSF approval because it's considered a repair. But the district roof does, so we're going to be at the mercy of OSF to get it turned around and get it approved. So that maybe take a couple more days. The HVAC at the middle school and Black Street is going well. He came out yesterday for his final visit, and I expect the design for that next week, early next week as well, and that'll go through. That's a less complicated design. So OSF, as promised, I spoke to Christine today to turn those around pretty quickly. So we'll be going out to bid on those as well. So I feel confident with the construction project, we'll have all those funds encumbered by September, even earlier than that.
Questions on ESSER-funded projects? Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. I'll ask you about those capital projects during your next turnaround. Thank you. Ms. Hedden, curriculum and instruction.
Okay, you have my report for just our outline and our activities and events for the last month, and I would just like to expound a little bit upon our planning process for our summer learning program. We're continuing our planning progress, and we're doing what we call a FIT 2.0 summer learning program, and the mission statement for our summer learning program is to grow our students through engaging instructional practices, enrichment, and empowerment. Our purpose is to provide additional instructional support and enrichment experiences for our students and to offer an avenue for students to transition to the next grade level. So our summer learning program is aligned with our board policy IKE for promotion and retention, Act 284, which is the Read to Succeed Act, and our board retention policies and our partnership with the district summer learning network. We have collected summer applications for the summer employment. We've conducted a staff recruitment session. We have launched our student applications, and there are two ways for our students to apply. They can apply as with the parent going into the parent portal and applying, or they can pick up a paper application to the school's Power School clerk. Right now, we have 105 applications that have been turned in. Now, typically, we have an enrollment of about 600 students. So we're a little bit behind, but we have some time. Our student applications will close out on May 1st. Our locations have been identified, and what we're doing right now is we're working on preliminary schedules. We're pursuing our partnerships. We're working on the curriculum and the coursework for all the grade levels, and we're planning the enrichment activities. If anyone has questions about the summer learning program, they can contact myself. We have identified different support staff. Miss Christy Duffy for the 4K through 2nd grade support, Danielle Hayes for 3rd through 5th grade support, Bill Jones for the 6th through 8th grade support, Laura Johnson for the 9th through 11th grade support, and Miss Tamika Washington for our migrant program. I just want to reiterate that if a parent wants the student to have bus transportation, we must receive their application by May 1st. Not saying they won't get in after that. I'm saying we cannot guarantee bus transportation after that date. The schools have been doing retention conferences, sending out possible retention letters, so I'm encouraging the parents to pay special attention to those letters. It does give them an opportunity and remind them how to apply for summer school if needed. And I'll be glad to take your questions.
I have one question. How soon are the information being provided to the parents?
What information are you saying?
You're talking about the summer program.
Right. We've put it out in brochures and through different avenues about the information, and also we've put out, the applications. We will have parent sessions, orientation parent sessions a little later on. I don't have the timeline in front of me, but we do have a detailed timeline where we've already scheduled dates and times to have like parent orientations.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Hedden, I want to ask, and I'm not sure if this is something that's even been thought about. I know last year during the summer learning program, there were lots of activities, field trips, those kind of things. Do we have a plan as far as the percentage of time we're going to be spending in the classroom on academics versus doing those other activities?
Yes, sir. We do. With our Read to Succeed Act, we have to ensure that we have 96 hours worth of instruction during our summer learning program. We have, like I said, we have been working on a preliminary schedule, looking at each subject, how many minutes is going to be spent in the instruction with the different coursework. I have extended the day by 15 minutes because we want to ensure that the instruction takes precedence over anything else. We do incentives, we do the engagement activities to try to keep our students in the program.
Sure.
It's only 16 days long, and the summertime, there's lots of other things vying for their attention. So we do offer incentives, we do offer engagement activities and things like that to try to keep them involved and coming every day to school. So we'll have, students that will attend for various reasons. Maybe I'm attending because I need to make up a course I failed. Maybe I'm attending just because I want some enrichment, some fun things to do for the summer. So we try to make it appealing to all of our students, but also make sure that we meet the requirements that are outlined either through board policy or through, state acts.
And can we see that preliminary schedule whenever you feel a little bit more final about it?
Sure you can.
Thank
yes,
you.
Sir.
Thanks.
Ms. Eden, where is the elementary summer school held?
Well, this year, we're going to combine the early childhood and the elementary. So we'll have both of those actually at Forest Hills Elementary. And then we have the secondary, which is your middle school, your middle school, your high school, your GAP, your Gear Up. All of that will be at the high school. Migrant education will be at Forest Hills as well.
And is there a way, I know you'll probably have a strategy for the kids that need the summer school, like to go from 5th grade to 6th grade, to take precedent over kids that just want enrichment?
Yes, we will. We have to look at that because we only have so many slots, and we have to give precedence to those who it's a requirement for them to be there. Actually, last year, out of all of the elementary grades, 4th and 5th grade had the least amount of students. And it fluctuates. Some years you may get one particular grade level that have a high number of possible retentions. So it does fluctuate. But we would like to encourage anyone to come out and, apply. And they will receive a letter stating whether they've been accepted or whether they are going on a waiting list. Last year at the beginning of the summer, we had to put some of our students on a waiting list because we were full. Within the first day or by the second day, many of those children that were on the waiting list actually got in because for whatever reason, students decided not to come. So we have an opening, we monitor it very closely, contact the parents, hey, is little Susie coming? Oh, no, we've decided we're going to Disney, we're not coming. Fine, great, we're going to replace her. So that's real strenuous the first 2 days, but we tried to get that in because we really encourage them to be there all 16 days. But if they are needing the program for promotion, they can only miss 2 days. That's it. If they miss more than 2 days, then their promotion is in jeopardy.
Will this information be provided to the parents, letting them know exactly what the consequences are?
Oh, yes, ma'am. We still go by the same dress code. We still go by the same school rules. So, and we really, stress with the parents when we do the parent orientation sessions, all of that to say, we want your kids here. We do not want to, put anyone out. Unfortunately, there are times where that does occur, but it's few and far between because a lot of it is an option and they want to be there.
And I'm last, but my most important will be transportation for the student because I know that, I think it was last year, during the time there were some parents who wanted their kids to be a part of and transportation was not available. So just wanted to make sure that.
If they get in before the due date, the transportation will be provided. Now, what we tell them is if the due date's May 1st and you apply on May 5th, we can get you into a slot and then we'll work with transportation to see if they can provide it. But Mr. Gary has very short time to build those routes, and it's a lot to do, so he cannot guarantee that. So that cutoff date's pretty firm.
Okay, thank
pretty
you.
firm. Yes, ma'am.
Ms.
Any
Hayden,
more questions?
Before you leave, this is a different topic, and I'm going to use your area of curriculum instruction to ask it, but Ms. Williams, are you still with us? This is also a question for you, and that is just recognizing that transitional years between 5th and 6th grade and 8th and 9th grade are significant in our district. Being in the any elementary school for 5+ years, they build a family, and it is hard to think about often leaving that family and moving into the middle school or the high school, both much larger environments. And so I've asked before, and I do know that many of our elementary principals work with either the middle school or middle school works with high school or high school works with middle school to make orientations happen. My question is, can the district inform the board or better share with the community about those opportunities as much for students and their level of comfortability as parents as they work to transition? I think there are a lot of misconceptions and that a little bit of knowledge will go a long way in preparation for that transition to occur. So just kind of sharing as a mom who sees that and picks up on it, especially at the elementary level, but to high school is a big jump and needs a little time and massaging from our district to both the student and the parent. Ms. Williams, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great.
I can go ahead and just talk a little bit about that, and if Ms. Hedden wants to chime in after I'm done, she's welcome too. But actually, we had this conversation. I had this conversation just recently with our Director of Student Services. We were talking about transition for 5th grade students to 6th grade. At one time, we did have a robust program where our counselors at the 6th grade at the middle school were very involved in making sure that our 5th graders had an opportunity to visit the middle school just to get acclimated to the middle school. It's a big change, it's a big adjustment for our students. So that is a topic of discussion. We have spoken about that just recently. I'm not sure if Dr. Jenkins is there, if she wants to chime in a little more about that. And then also for our 8th grade students going to 9th grade, I know last year we put a lot of energy into making sure we had some type of orientation for those students during summer programs. I'm not sure if that has been talked about as much this year, but I know last year we did make sure that those opportunities were there. And that is something that we can certainly make sure that we discuss because it's very important and it is a big adjustment for our students. So just want to let you know that yes, we have discussed it for 5th going to 6th grade And there could be some discussion concerning what we can do for our 8th grade students going to 9th grade. Those students can do this orientation during the summer, as we did last year. So if Dr. Jenkins is there, she
Ms.
may
Williams,
want to
Dr.
talk
Jenkins
about that
she's not
as
with us
well.
right now. She's not with us right now. So just confirmation of those efforts at the next meeting would be helpful.
And if I
Yes,
could add.
I can confirm that we will discuss it at the next meeting.
We did a program last year as part of the summer programs called Hello High School, and that's what Ms. Williams was talking about, and it was part of the summer learning program, and we planned that with the high school administrators, so that will be something we'll pursue again.
Terrific.
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Hedden, thanks for the field trips and things that you provide. I know Mr. Irwin asked about the seat time, and that's important, that they're working on the skills they need to build up. But the 5th graders at Hendersonville were, they're coordinated, the teachers there coordinated, and with Mr. Ed Williams, a trip to Boeing, and they invited board members to go. And those students saw, the connection between doing well in school and getting a good job. And they kept, encouraging them to respect their teachers, be present, do their best at school, and guaranteed them good jobs. So those field trips are important for our children to get into the world of work and to see the things that an education provides them.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ms. Hedden, real quick, I know you said you were still working on finalizing it, but can you give me just a brief, what are the hours of summer school?
You're asking me, and I don't have it in front of me. I'm
Okay, but I
sorry.
mean, would it typically be like 8 to 4, or?
Well, typically, our doors open, I think, right at 7:30. Our instruction will begin around 7:45, and then we'll end around 2:15-ish.
Great.
Somewhere in that. And we just have the 2 locations. So busing should be a little easier this year, because last year, we bussed over from Black Street. We had to connect siblings to make sure they got on the right bus. And, everybody will be together at Forest Hills this year. That's because of some work that's being done at Black Street for the summer, and so we're trying it, and hopefully this will be a great, opportunity to see how it works.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Hedden.
You're welcome.
Operations, Ms. Fitch?
Good evening, board members. There's only a couple of little updates, and then we did update you with the spreadsheet for the capital projects, if you have any questions about that. Student nutrition will be celebrating upcoming in May, the first week of May, as well as the teachers, because that's also Teacher Appreciation Week, but it's School Lunch Hero Week, and especially just help me celebrate on the 3rd as School Lunch Hero Day, make sure they know how much we appreciate them. And so the capital projects, there was one thing that was put on there for the roofing at Black Street. That's not listed as a capital project because that is part of the insurance claim. So we didn't put that on the actual capital projects. We just listed it there for your information. So if there's any questions on any of these capital projects, as you can see, several of them have been already put out and awarded, and some are in review right now, and I think some more were just sent the intent today. So if you have any questions about any of those, we'll be more than happy to assist you with those.
Ms. Fitz, just kind of looking very quickly as the PowerPoint was kind of flashing before us. Office of Transportation says we have a 12-driver shortfall and 5 drivers out on FMLA?
Yes, sir. But the 12-driver shortfall, now after our budget meeting, may be different, maybe less, based on what we show as vacancies, so I'll have to get back with you on that.
But it seems like, and maybe it's not uncommon, but it seems like 5 drivers out at the same time on FMLA, that seems like it would be a lot. How are we managing covering those routes and things?
We have been managing by, I've been assisting them. They've been supplying us with their actual ridership based on their their ridership that is sent in Power School is not always the ridership that actually shows up on the buses. So we've actually combined some routes, and with some of them that only had 10 or 12 students on it, so we've actually combined them, and they do have some 2 tiers with our middle and high school starting later. It would be great if it was slightly later, but we have been doing 2 tiers with elementary, middle, and high routes. So they run an elementary route, and then they're able to get on a middle and high route based on the staggered start.
Okay. And I don't want to jump ahead of anyone else, but I do have a buildings and grounds question. Is that? And Mr. Hamilton, this may be more for you. I just kind of heard a little birdie say that we had some issues with some septic at one of our schools this week with some toilets gurgling and backing up and things.
Yeah, it did, but it was because the water pressure throughout the area dropped. It was at the middle school, at North Side, and we're not really sure what happened, but the water pressure that the city suppliers dropped. But they were able to correct the problem and build the pressure back up because it actually drained the tank.
So that was not an us issue or anything that we can handle. That was strictly through the city or the county government.
Yeah, that was straight through the water system.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. Hamilton, the parking lot paving project that, I'm very excited about.
Yes.
Question is, I know that the bid is tentative to be set, to be given out June 10th. Does that include the 6th grade side?
Well, to be honest with you, I got the geotech report yesterday, and we're going to have to make some decisions because the existing condition is not what we thought it was. There's the base material under the parking lot is just, when they paved it, they didn't put a lot of base on it. That's why it's having the problem, especially the bus area, the problem that it is. So I spoke with the engineer yesterday, and we're going to look at some other alternative methods to pave that parking lot.
Okay.
Starting with the bus parking lot and then moving to the 6th grade lot.
Understood. I just want to, if you can keep us updated.
Okay.
I know I don't drive obviously on the bus parking lot. I drive on the 6th grade side where I drop my kid off every single day, as do other parents. And so just knowing how the time frame is short, but the need keeps increasing. Like the holes are just getting bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
6th grade is in the July capital projects. Won't be able to. The 6th grade is budgeted in next year's capital project, so can start in July. So as long as we can get that design, we can move right into that once this other one is done.
Here's your crossed.
Yeah, we're looking at some alternative methods, and I understand what because I drive it myself. And one of the options we're looking at is not doing the entire parking lot, but doing a drive lane around the parking lot to the drop off and pick up area and back through. So we're looking at some options. Maybe the entire lot may not be paved, but at least a pathway to mitigate the damage and other things with the pothole. So we're looking at some different things. I'm working with the engineer, the civil engineer, to do that.
Keep us updated.
Will do.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Hamilton, that we're getting closer for the roof at the high school and this building, and Ms. Fitch mentioned insurance, so just catch us up from last month where we are with those ones that were damaged and the insurance process for getting those repaired.
Yeah, well, the insurance process, I'm in the process. I got one quote. We have the insurance claim has been processed. That one quote is within the budget of the insurance claim, but because it's about 18,000, we need to 19, whatever it is, we need to get 3 quotes, and I'm working on that. I got 2 of them, but I need a 3rd one.
Yep. Which building is that?
It's Black Street. The high school is what I spoke under ESSER. Those designs should be, he's doing a site visit tomorrow morning, final site visit, and he would have the complete design early next week. And we'll bid, the high school is easy because we don't have to go to OSC, but the district office, we have to get approval from OSC because it's a replacement, and the high school is a repair.
So that list of where we saw all the storm damage, everything's been complete except for Black Street?
Well, temporary here. There's a temporary fix here, but that's part of the re-roofing of the district office. We didn't think it would have been prudent to do a permanent type repair until we did the entire roof system.
And how about Cottageville? Was there something going on there?
Yeah, well, there was some issues there, but remember that the Cottageville is still under warranty, so we did, the company came out over the spring break and did some remedial work to that roof as well, at no cost to the district.
So when we talk about remedial work and we talk about temporary emergency fixes and all of those things, those are great and wonderful because they keep us going. But when are those things actually going to be completely repaired the way they need to be?
Well, this building will be done when the bids go out.
Right. Well, how about Cottageville?
Well, Cottageville is a warranty issue, and it has been taken care of.
Okay, so whenever you just said remedial work has been done at Cottageville, we're calling that done? There's nothing else to be done there?
It's not due for a new roof.
Yeah, it's not due for, it's still under warranty. I think what I was saying, there's some remedial work that was done here for the storm, and that will be taken care of when the bid is done for this building.
So just to clarify, and I think this is what Ms. Strobel asked, when we talked, I think Ms. Crosby, we had talked about, and I don't remember the name for it, there being some emergency repair, right, where we didn't have to do the RFP and all those kind of things. So in all the locations where we had to have immediate emergency work done, have all of those issues at those locations been taken care of other than this building?
No, they have not.
Okay.
They have not. I mentioned the Black Street. That's what I'm waiting on the third quote to do the Black Street.
Right.
We're going to get that one done. The repair here will be done under the entire project.
Right.
And those were the two storm damage areas.
Just those two were the only ones?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Hamilton, a couple questions for you. I noticed on the report it said that we're evaluating our fire alarm systems. Do you know whether or not, I know we had some issues back in January, maybe some deficiencies that were found. Do you know whether those have all been corrected up to date?
But some of them, we're in the process of doing all of those. I'm working with Johnson Control right now on a lot of them. And so a lot of them have been done. Some of them we are waiting on parts for. We have a panel that's down, we're waiting on parts for it, and we have a panel down at the stadium that we're waiting on parts for.
Okay.
But so the work is in process.
Okay, thank you. Also, do you know, I understand possibly we have a notice of violation for our water system. Is that something that we've been able to correct?
Water system?
Ruffin.
Yes, sir. For our Ruffin site.
Oh, okay, the wastewater. I'm sorry. Yeah. I think the attorneys are working with the attorneys of the current owners on that issue.
Okay.
And that'll be on the agenda next week?
On that same note, where do we stand on our bids for our current bidding for our lift stations?
Yeah, that's the one Ms. Flint mentioned. That was actually, the intent was sent out today.
Okay. Okay.
And that's on your sheet. The last one is called lift station inspection.
And as needed repairs?
It's posted on our website in the procurement department, and it's also posted on the registry. And I posted this out emails today.
Okay. Thank you. One other question I had. I noticed that we put out bids for our awnings for our elementary schools, and are we no longer doing those
Well, no, it came in over budget. If you remember last week when we did the initial budget review, I had asked for some additional funding to go, we have 110,000, and I had asked for the request for additional funding to be able to do what's necessary, the car drop-off and at Hendersonville and the car drop-off at Bells Elementary.
Okay. So all of our bids were over what we could afford, essentially?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, no.
Do you roughly have an idea of how much over they were? Like what had we allocated and then what did the bids come in at? Do you know?
Yes.
I mean, are we talking about $10,000? Are we talking about $100,000? What are we talking about? Difference?
$100,000 now.
$400,000 more than we had budgeted? Where did we come up with that budgeted number at that was so low?
That wasn't your company.
I don't know.
I'm sorry? That was done prior to, and then whenever we just got in the bids or whatever recently, they were $400,000 over what we had budgeted.
The estimate that you received when you did the estimate.
No, that's not the estimate we received. But you have to remember that budget was done years ago. That budget was part of the system. You look at the numbering, it was done more than 5 years ago.
But it was approved just last year, so we probably should have tweaked the numbers last year when the board approved that budget.
Probably would have.
And I think that's important to note because, as we're going through this budget process again, if, carrying things over year after year does us no good because costs go up. But also, I just want to make note that in the report, it says it's been canceled. Can we put that that's been postponed? Because those needs are still there for those canopies.
Well, that bid was canceled.
Okay.
But postponed would be the.
We're still going to try to work on it.
Yeah, my request is the new proposal.
Got it.
Thank you.
If you could clarify, on our report, it says the maintenance for the lift stations, the POs would go out in July. Is that the earliest we're going to be able to have that contract open?
Yeah, it's funded in the next budget year.
EA Services is our current provider for that.
For maintenance?
We can call anyone for repairs that's under a certain amount of money. But the inspections are being done by EA Services, so we can't award that until this year's contract is up. And that contract doesn't start until July 1st.
Thank you.
That's just procurement law.
Any other operations questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. At this time, I'll entertain a motion that we enter into executive session.
Madam Chair, one thing before we go out, because some people might not be here, if we could thank our greeters again, and one of them was a fifth grader and wanted to make sure we all knew to come watch fifth grade kickball tomorrow between 9 and 1:30. So we want to make sure to support all of those that coordinated that last year. This will be our second event, so come out to the rec center.
Thank you, Ms. Strobel.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we enter into executive session for item 10.01, discussion and receipt of legal advice related to a personnel matter.
Motion made and seconded to enter into executive session for item 10.01. Is there any discussion? I would like to make note that this is committee of the whole meeting. There will be no action upon the board returning. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, excuse me? Ms. Simmons. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries. We're now in executive session. No, she's just got it. I'll entertain a motion that we enter back into open session.
Madam Chair, make a motion we enter back into open session.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded to enter back into open session. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. We're now back in open session. Is there any other business of the board?
I would like to entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded for adjournment. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday, April 23rd, for the regular scheduled board meeting of the Colleton County School District. Thank you.